Carl and Lou here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for sure. And it's Freddy's Nightmares, where we're talking through every episode of the TV show, Freddy's Nightmares, based of course on A Nightmare on Elm Street. This is episode 2 of season 1. It's a Miserable Life. Get it? That is the level of humour this show has. Written by Michael DeLuca and Paul Rosalie, directed by Tom McLaughlin. Cast. We have John Cameron Mitchell as Brian Ross. I almost read it as Byron. Brian Ross. Lara Park Lincoln as Karen. Burr D. Benning as Dr. Serling. Peter Icangelo as Dad. And Nancy McLaughlin as Nurse. Married daughter to Tom McLaughlin? Guess.
Maybe.
Yeah, possibly. Okay, so this is where things get a little bit shorter, a little less wordy. We did our introduction with episode 1. We're not going to be doing that again. Yeah. It's Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a TV show based around it. It takes props from the likes of Tales from the Crypt, with Freddy doing an introduction, and an epilogue, and so on. But now we enter the world where it's freer stories. We've done the origin story. Freddy's out there. Now he's going to torment people. Occasionally he might come back into it, but for now, this is very much in keeping with the tone of an anthology. Because this one surrounds Beefy Boy Burgers employee Brian Ross, who's a young man. He hates his job. He hates his life. He's sitting there in the graveyard shift. He has to work overnight. It's basically open 24/7, but he's only working there, and his dad's kind of like, you have to work, and he doesn't want to be, it's that story.
Yeah.
I want to do something else other than this,
This is your legacy, son. You'll inherit this when I've gone.
That whole thing as well. He gets embarrassed when like the cool kids and some girls pull up outside of the drive-through and stuff like that. But he ends up having a dream where some biker turns up, some garish biker, who basically robs him and then shoots him. So that's kind of where he wakes up, of course. But then things get really strange for him. It's a series of nightmares and hallucinations that makes him confront his life and his actions, where people are It's a Wonderful Life, but done in a more horror way, as if he had never existed. So for example, he catches his father and his parents depressed because he gave up the business and they lost all their money. His father, they're putting his head in the oven. He keeps getting tormented by the biker, his girlfriend, and aspects like that. There's lots of little touches we move through. It's very, very disjointed and not difficult to follow along, but because he keeps waking up and nothing is quite what it seems, you're never too sure what is a dream or what isn't. But you kind of get it early on, what's going on here, right? Did you? You kind of get the twist at the end of what is the first segment.
Like he's already dead.
Yeah, of course. When he was shot, that actually happened.
Yeah.
That actually happened. He's bleeding out on the floor of Beefy Boy Burgers, which is exactly what this story is telling. And I got that quite early on because it's so constantly dream heavy and it's so weird, and the way people are interacting and talking to him is so off kilter it's more than just a dream. It's something else, and it's his life. As if this is what happened after you died, kind of thing. So it was easy enough to follow, easy to guess.
Yeah.
Didn't mean the reveal wasn't strong. Yeah. I thought it was strong. I actually really liked this segment. Weirdly, the first segment of this 2-segment episode is strong and memorable. I remember Brian quite well. I'm going to keep calling him Byron. It's because of Byron Burgers. Yeah. That's what that is. But he's drawing the ketchup face and he's doing voices and stuff like that. I remember the look of it, the hat, the sort of 80s dunginess feel it had, the biker, quite I'm sure he played a biker, whoever that guy was, I'm sure he played a biker in a lot of things,
Yeah.
But it's the second part, the second segment, that's the big problem. Do you remember much about the second segment, even without me telling you?
Is it one of his
girlfriends? Because she comes to visit him when, before he gets shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm struggling. Yeah, I remember she's the next part. I don't know what...
She's the B-side character in the first part that now steps into the A-side story. That's Karen, Brian's girlfriend, who comes to visit him at place, planning to spend him and stuff like that, spend the night with him there, just chill out with him and so on, when the biker turns up. She actually gets shot too. This is when we find out that Brian is dead. Is she got shot too, but she only got wounded and is taken to Springwood Mercy Hospital, where there in bed she has a series of nightmares and hallucinations that make her confront her own fears and worries about parents and stuff like that, including losing limbs and elements like that, including her parents coming to take her home, but her parents have been dead for years. There's that aspect. This is slower, this is less interesting because she's basically confined to a bed. The hospital location is not as interesting, it's not as vibrant, and it feels more, we spend a lot of time in hospitals sometimes in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise movies that may be somewhat different, and there's nothing stand out about it. It's filmed in a way as well, it makes you aware that you're watching a lot of dreams. The wind blowing down the hallway, elements like that, the close-up to the faces of the doctors. The parents' part is cool, because she doesn't initially react, she's just kind of like, you can't be here, you can't be here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, without egregiously saying the obvious things. But visually, she ends up going to like a morgue area, and it's really gross looking, grotty and stuff like that. So there are some cool visuals in it. And it's a nice tie-in to complete the two things, where her ending's a bit happier compared to Brian's ending more than anything else. The two parts go together quite seamlessly. This is one of the things I'll praise about the show overall. It is this aspect of being able to combine two stories and mesh them quite neatly together. This is the first time they're doing it, bear in mind. I do think there'll be times when they get a little bit more imaginative. Yeah. Because here, like, Karen was just briefly in the first one, so suddenly it's like, oh, now you've got to focus on her. Other times they'll do a little bit better with that later on, I think, more than anything else. But I like this as overall as a double, as the second episode, because for me this tells you what the show is really going to be now. Freddy's there, he's doing his introduction, his voice, and whether or not his influence matters on the events and stuff like that, particularly with the dream aspects. Yeah, it might be important, but he's not the be-all and end-all of the episodes. Imagine if this was 2 seasons. 40-odd episodes of just here's Freddy Krueger tormenting someone else, here's Freddy Krueger tormenting someone else. Yeah, you'd be bored shitless. Would be bored shitless. So this was cool. I like the acting. I like the visuals. Like I said, I like the dark humour. When I think of the first segment of this, I do think of the father with his head trying to light the lighter in the oven. Yeah. But how joyful and gleeful he is about it. Yeah. That's fun. I like that.
I like that.
Yeah. Episode 2, It's a Miserable Life of Freddy's Nightmares. If you've got any thoughts, you know what to do. Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?